where we feel the properties we are not giving the necessary yield in terms of rent or suitability, we should dispose of those and invest the money elsewhere in some other property or properties. To look at the lease option, where we feel we don't have the resources to develop those landed properties, we engage individuals or companies that would want to lease those properties and build, acceptable structures there and to run their business. Or we look at where we'll need to, which is the third option, if we don't have the funds, or if we have the funds, to develop the properties ourselves, like we've done for the one near the Bishop's office along the Kairaba Avenue. If we need to borrow to build and let out, or we use from our own resources and build and let out. And those are the three we decided at that level that we will, and we'll be working closely with the diocesan real estate manager, to do that. But coming back to this topic, already the estate manager, has been tasked with running around, going through each of those properties to see whether there is some maintenance that needs to be done and to assess what may be required and report that back to the Diocesan Finance Committee through the Landed Properties Committee for us to look at. To look at the rent that is currently being collected from those properties, whether they are applicable or they need to be reviewed upwards, and to make recommendations along those lines. And where certain properties may need to be developed, if she has any ideas, she can bring those up through the Landed Properties Committee for consideration by the Diocesan Finance Committee. So in a nutshell, what we want to do is from here to Basse, all the properties we have to see how they need to be developed. Where we need to maintenance properties, we have them maintenance. And where we have land that can be used for agricultural purposes, maybe we can look at the Catholic communities in those parishes, whether they are ready and willing for, say, the Diocesan Finance Committee to give them seed money for them to use to plow such land and grow something there which will generate income. This is all complementing our efforts towards the attainment of our vision, which is to be self-reliant. If we empower those small communities to be able to generate income that will sustain them, eventually their dependence on the bishop for the monthly subventions will begin to dwindle, and hopefully it may come to a point where they will take care of themselves, like a good number of parishes are already doing within the Greater Banjul area.
Then how can the Diocesan Coordinating Board focus on the consolidated diocesan accounts?
Well, that is something we are still working on. We have held 2 mini assemblies where we have tried to sell this to the various parishes. But, these things will take a while, so we need to exercise patience at the level of the Diocesan Finance Committee. Already some parishes are submitting their accounts, but we can only have a consolidated diocesan accounts where all the parishes within the Diocese of Banjul start submitting their accounts through the office of the bishop. Then the Diocesan Finance Administrator can consolidate all. So we cannot do it piecemeal. So we are, through moral suasion, trying to get the various parishes to buy into this, that they need to submit accounts, even where they are being subvented, that at the end of each month they should be able to say, Bishop, you gave us $10,000. This is how we spent it. Actually, we spent more than you gave us. So this 10,000 is not really enough to sustain us. Or we've spent, but we are able to make some savings, and we'll carry it forward to the next month. Then the Diocesan Finance Administrator can take all that, because once he gives us the subventions every month, it goes out as a bulk sum. But the Diocesan Finance Administrator can't break it down to say, that parish priest spent, say, 1,000 on electricity, 2,000 on fuel, and 3,000 on food, and so forth. So if we need to really have our accounts done properly, they need to report back.
And then how about facilitating the reporting lines for diocesan entities for ease of management and efficiency for the benefit of the Diocese of Banjul?
Well, as we said, the primary reason for setting up the Diocesan Coordinating Board, for which James is the chairperson, was to have an institution within the diocese that will help the bishop coordinate the activities of all the institutions or entities that are owned by the Diocese of Banjul. Okay? So if we have the schools, we have the parish councils, we have the Catholic Education Secretariat, we have GPI, we have CADO, and any other entities that may belong to the bishop, say St. Joseph's Farm, and all that. Someone needs to be able to take control and have an oversight responsibility over those institutions. It's not the responsibility of the bishop. The bishop should be focusing more on the spiritual as opposed to the mundane in terms of financial and institutions management. And we've got Catholics within the diocese with the expertise and the experience and the qualifications to be able to render support in that regard. And that's why the bishop constituted this board, and the board comprises different people with different skills and expertise. So that when we sit down to talk, if there is anything to do with legal issues, the legal person will guide us immediately that this is what the laws of the country call for example. If it is to do with the church, then maybe they'll say this is what canon law says. If it is to do with banking, finance, or rural development, and so forth, you've got people who can guide us so that we can save time and be able to make sure we comply, as is required.
Okay, I think maybe James will help us in all of language.
Ni Bernard doon wax noonu mooy mbiri compte yi naka la ñoo consolider naka la ñoo def ba diocèse bi at bu jot mi mun a wone ne nangam bii moo fi dugga nangam bii moo fi génn commencé nañ ko waaye yombul parce que parish bu nekk dafa wax di waxal yëgal bishop ne lii moo dugga ci parish bi lii moo fi génn su ko defee bishop bi su jëlee yooyu yëpp mu consolider ko ñu am benn account boo xam ne dinañ wane ne ci réew mi fii nangam bi moo fi dugg ci xaalis nangam bi la diocèse bi fere commencé nañ ko nag ñu ngi ñaan ñëpp parisisi yëpp ñu jublu ci loolu parce que xam nañ ne jàngu bu nekk am na koo xam ne mu nga fa mun naa defa compte yu mel noonu su ko loolu defee loolu dafa yomba comme ni ñu ko waxee Bernard waxee nekkut ne dañ ko bëgg a door tey ñu àgga waaye suñ dooree fii ba jàngu yi nekk ba biir Kama ñu seet ñi ko mën a def suñ ko dooree di def dina yomba pour ñu génn ci Greater Banjul area bi mun a jublu feneen loolu nag ci ñun la des Paris bu nekk su góorgóorloo mun naa def loolu liñ bëgg a samp ci diocèse bi mooy comme ni ñu ko waxee woon bishop bi moom dina toppatoo mbiri jàngu bi naka la jàngu bi dundee mbiri waara yi ak naka la ñoo doxalee mees ak yëpp ñun ñi nga xam ne ñoo bokk ci jàngu bi nekk ci parish council yi ñu jàppale ko ci yeneen yi nga xam ne moom dafa war a toog ñuy ko wane ko lii moo xew te ñàkkuñ nit ñoo ñu la ci jàngu bi am nañ nit ñu bare am nañ xam-xam ci boor bu nekk nga xam ne ñoom ñëpp suñ dimbalee parish yi dimbale diocèse bi loolu dina mun a am li tax bishop bi indi Diocese Coordinating Committee mooy loolu naka laa jëlee ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi ci diocèse bi ak xam-xam yu an boole leen ndax ñoom ñu mun a nekk butam ak ay tànkaam di mun a seet parish yi yëpp lana faa dox di ko yëgal moom su ko defee parce que ñu ne information dafa bari doole moom mooy tax nga mun a liggéey parce que bu fekkee ne da nga xam ne li ma war a liggéey nii yëpp 5 millions la waaye amuloo benn kayit bu laa woon loolu xëy na 2 millions ngaa ut